Hello everyone, welcome back to LaExcellence Bengaluru presents current issue of the day, episode number 166. In today's episode, we'll be discussing a very important topic that is significant from upcoming mains. That is the reality of custodial torture in India and dirty Harry tactics. We will see why this issue is in news and what is the data related to custodial torture and what do you mean by dirty Harry and Sherlock Holmes tactics, the reasons behind custodial torture and deaths, global and Indian context, the best practices and way forward are the policy recommendations to address this custodial torture. So, in syllabus, it comes under GS paper 2, governance, within that civil social service, and in context, recently there was an important article in the Hindu which discussed about custodial torture. This has been covered rigorously by Hindu, Indian Express and all the mainstream newspapers because there was a recent event, that is the custodial death of Ajit Kumar in Tamil Nadu has once again exposed the persistence of police brutality in India. The metaphor dirty Harry shadow, referring to result oriented, coercive and violent policing, highlights the ongoing clash between rule of law principle and impunity driven law enforcement. Okay, so in policing there are two kinds of policing. One is dirty Harry policing. Here the investigation process involves coercion, okay, coercion, violence, deceit or forcefulness. You are forcing a victim or you are forcing a culprit to accept. You are forcing them so that they are able to, so that they are forced into accepting the mistake which they have not committed. This is dirty Harry tactics. What is the opposite term? That is the Sherlock Holmes tactic. Okay, Sherlock Holmes, he was a great, what you can say, it was a great fictional character which was, his role was actually an investigator. Okay, he was actually an investigator. He, instead of going for this coercion, violence, he focused mainly on evidence based, okay, mainly on evidence based investigation. So this is not followed in India. In contrast, we are following dirty Harry tactics. The very nature, that is coercion, violence, etc., mirror Indian policing system. So the need is to shift from dirty Harry policing to Sherlock Holmes policing. These are some keywords which if you use in your answers will fetch you some extra marks. So that is why I am covering this topic. Next. Okay, so it is here. The Sherlock Holmes model is evidence based, rational and lawful, whereas dirty Harry model is coercive, violent, results oriented at any cost. It doesn't matter whether the culprit is real or not, they want results. How they are going to get the result? There is a joke about Indian policing system. They will be beating a buffalo, and if you ask them why they are beating the buffalo, they will say this buffalo is not accepting itself as ox. So they will beat it to death until and unless it accepts as ox. So that is what Indian policing is there. So that is what is happening in Indian policing, that is we follow dirty Harry model. Next, the reality of custodial torture in death. The data points. According to National Human Rights Commission data, between 2010 and 2020, within the 10 years of span, 17,140 custodial deaths have happened, approximately 5 deaths per day, a very concerning situation. And conviction cases, from 2001 to 2020, out of 1,888 custodial deaths, only 26 police personnel were convicted. Just see the conviction rate. Between 2018 and 2023, 687 reported custodial deaths have been recorded. So it was very rampant in the last decade. However, it has continued even in the current decade. And the conviction rate is very meager. For 1,800 odd cases, only 28 police personnel have been convicted. Even when you convict a police personnel, it is most of the times will be at the lower ends. That is the constables which will be convicted. rather than higher ends, that is sub inspector or SI or PSI or even IPS. They are all most of the times they escape from these convictions even though they are involved. There is the current high profile events or the cases that are happening here is or which are in news are Ajit Kumar 2024 case in Tamil Nadu, Jairaj and Benix in 2020, custodial death triggered national outrage. Okay. Next, who are the victims? In the recent article, the article showcased certain trends here. That is, the trend is the victims are predominantly from marginalized communities, mainly Dalits, Adivasis, minorities, migrants, and the urban poor. It reflects structural discrimination and caste bias in the law enforcement. Okay, so before this CID, I already done an issue with respect to this, where I explained you about a movie, that is Jai Bhim movie, a Tamil movie starring Surya, which focuses on the issue. There was a custodial death or the custodial death of a tribal person in Tamil Nadu, and how they try to hide their violence, how they try to hide the case, and how this actor or the person who is a lawyer who fights for this case. A very beautifully done movie, and you can watch the movie to see the actual reality which is happening in Tamil Nadu and other states. Next, the key patterns are most torture occurs in early hours of detention before formal procedures like FIRs or medicinal checks are initiated. Okay, even before a formal FIR is done, the police try to bring the violence on the culprits or the violence on the people who have been withheld, so that they accept to their guilt. So accept to their guilt even if they do not commit it, so that they do not go through the formal procedures. And they are bypassing the oversight such as CCTV coverage gaps, deliberate shifting of accused to unofficial locations, manipulation of post-mortem reports. This is happening in a systematic way. Even though there is a provision for CCTV in the jails or in the custodies, they are being bypassed, and the victims are taken from one area to another isolated area where they are beaten, where they are forced to accept their problems or accept their crimes or non-crimes. So why custodial deaths persist? So what are the root causes here? The root causes are, that is, the torture as a tool of investigation. Police in India often rely on physical coercion to extract confessions due to lack of training in scientific investigation, pressure to show quick results under the media or political scrutiny. The media, the public or the politics, they want earlier results. They want to bring quick results. So in order to bring the quick results, the police rely on the physical pressure, rely on physical coercion. Next is the lack of accountability. Only few officers are prosecuted. Just saw that 98% of the cases go unpunished. Out of 1800 cases, only 26 police have been convicted. Institutional support protects accused officers because of the code of silence. Next is the legal loopholes. That is, India lacks a standalone anti-torture law. There is no law which protects which protects people from torture. So there is no anti-torture law. And also, India has not ratified the UN Convention Against Torture, that is UNCERT. India is not a convention, or India is not a party to this convention as well. Weak implementation of DK Basu guidelines. The DK Basu guidelines is a Supreme Court judgment where Supreme Court provided certain guidelines in order to protect custodial torture or people from custodial torture. Next, poor infrastructure and overburdened forces. Understaffing, poor pay and long working hours, and lack of forensic and cyber infrastructure leads to over reliance on confession based policing. Okay, if you are scientifically trained, if there is proper forensic or cyber infrastructure available, then you will be able to do the investigation in a scientific manner. Because there is a lack of it, or because there is a dearth of it, people or the police go for physical coercive confession methods. Next is legal and constitutional framework dealing with custodial torture. However, they are poorly enforced in India. First is DK Basu was the state of West Bengal case which occurred in 1996. In this, Supreme Court laid down guidelines to prevent custodial torture. This case becomes very important for you. Fortunately or unfortunately, if there is a question on custodial deaths or custodial torture, this case becomes very important for you. So if you are watching this video, it is very fortunate for you, and if you are not watching this video, then it is very unfortunate of you. Next, case put to summary judgment. In this judgment, the court upheld right to dignity, so right to privacy, right to dignity, as well as bodily autonomy, which is in custodial torture or custodials most of the times is not upheld. If you are going to torture a person, where is the bodily autonomy? Where is the right to dignity? Where is the right to privacy? These are most of the times violated in the custodial torture. Next, the 273rd Law Commission report said that recommended an anti-torture legislation in India, which is absent at the moment. Next, Global Torture Index. India is ranked as high risk in terms of Global Torture Index. These are some supportive points for your answers. Next, scientific and global consensus against the torture. Okay, so many of the scientific or global consensus or the scientific studies have found that physical torture or physical coercion doesn't equal confession or doesn't equal quick results. Okay, so one of the scientific study was that it says that ineffectiveness of torture, that is Shane Mara's neuroscience. It says that torture degrades memory and decision making, produces false confessions, not rightful confessions. Very important. Shane Mara's neuroscience. When you torture a person, obviously it will lead to concussions, it will lead to a degradation of memory. When the memory is degraded, obviously the decision making will be very poor. Next is failure of torture driven models. In the world, throughout the world, there have been torture based models which have already been practiced, such as CIA black sites, French Algeria, US wrongful convictions, all demonstrate the failure of coercions. Okay, so CIA black sites, these are the sites where they take terrorist or supposedly terrorist persons to the particular area and they are tortured. And even US wrongful convictions post 9/11 attacks was also similar to this. They picked up all the people who belong to a particular community and took them to a particular island where they were tortured. Next, global best practices. Okay, at the global level, what are the best practices to avoid custodial torture? First is peace model, which was formulated by UK and followed and adopted by Canada and New Zealand as well. What is peace? P stands for preparation, E stands for engagement, A stands for accounting, C stands for closure, and E stands for evaluation. So you have to prepare, engage, account and closure, as well as evaluate your methods, evaluate the procedure even before applying it. It focuses on rapid, open-ended questioning and video recording. Leads to more accurate and timely information. So this can be followed in India as well. Next is FBI, CIA, HIG model. After the CIA black sites and the failure of FBI black sites, the FBI and CIA moved on to new model, that is HIG model. Its studies show non-coercive methods work better for critical intelligence. For example, Anders Breivik in Norway interrogated respectfully, and when he was interrogated respectfully, he fully confiscated. Okay, he fully confessed, not confiscated, fully confessed. Next, in Najibullah Zazi case in USA, there was a cooperated voluntarily and he helped in disseminating terror cells as well. When the methods are non-coercive, the results will be more useful. That is what these studies show. Next, what should be the way forward? Okay, what should be the way forward? So what are the legal loopholes, what are the loopholes, structural loopholes and the political loopholes that are absent in custody or absent in Indian policing that has to be addressed? First and foremost is legal and institutional reforms. That is, enact a standalone anti-torture law, In this law, you have to define torture and also penalize perpetrators and ensure victim compensation, and ratify UNCERT, that is United Nations Convention on Anti-Torture, fulfill international obligations, strengthen human right commitment. Next is with respect to police reforms and oversight. Independent police complaints authorities in all states. A complaints authority should be in like institutionalized. That is, whenever there is a complaint against the police with respect to custodial torture, these cases has to be handled by these authorities, which should be independent. Next is mandatory CCTV surveillance in all custodial areas. Next is periodic audits of police stations. After this, focus should be on training and capacity building. Capacity building or training should focus on human rights training for constabulary. Okay, most of the constables are the victims, or the not the victims, are the culprits with respect to custodial torture. So they should be trained. They should be provided with sensitization training as well. Build expertise in forensic science, digital surveillance, and non-coercive interrogation. And finally, judicial remedies, that is, fast track court should be established for custodial violence cases, and witness protection schemes and legal aid must be strengthened as well, so that the evidence cannot be tampered. With this, we will be able to address the issue of custodial torture and avoid more deaths with respect to okay. So this ends the video for the day. If you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. And if you are new to the channel, please click on the bell icon and also subscribe to the channel. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.